What if it was J Lowe, but it was spelled like Lowe, like Jaland Lowe, and it was just J Lo's face on Jaland Lowe's body? How about that? That do anything for you?
J Lo.
Is J Lo? I might have to make that after I record.
No, I think that actually works. But you have like what's her like her famous songs? So you can do a play on that or something.
J- on the floor. Oh come on, that's on the floor. Literally, you're on the floor playing
Yeah,
basketball. That's so easy.
let's see.
All right, we got to workshop this off air so no one else steals our ideas. These are copyrighted ideas of Simplified Podcast. Don't steal them.
First down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide open. MJ Devonshire got face. He's going to take it to the end zone.
He loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John's. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell three. We're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin.
Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplified Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my co-host, Ken Vanderwood this week. Mason's on a little bit of a work trip. But, Ken, how we doing tonight?
We're doing good, Zach. It's been a solid time watching some Pitt sports recently. So we're doing good.
You know what? We didn't have anything to say last week because all we did is lose. And then we won a couple, they win a couple games. All of a sudden, we're back on the air. Realistically, we just didn't have much to say, but good to be back on. Good to be back on after two big wins. And filling in for Mason tonight is our good friend, longtime friend of the show, repeat guest. This is like his fourth or fifth appearance, something like that. It's Mike. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing amazing. Feels good to join when coming off of two victories. It would have been a very different tune I would have been singing if last week we had done this podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad we kind of held off for a week, but it all worked out. So I think we just got to open up the show, start with it. I'm just going to skip over the losses. They all sucked. We're going to go right to the big news item. Pitt 80, Duke 76 in Cameron. Pitt's first win in Cameron since, 1979, I think the year was?
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, I think it's 79, but I think they've only played there 8 times between 79 and now. So it's not as significant.
Right. Yeah, it would be different if we were like in the ACC that entire time. Obviously, it was probably just a marquee matchup in the 70s. We were in the Big East independent for a while, but it's still significant, even, 0 wins and 8 tries or whatever. I'll let you guys have the floor. Open up where you want to.
Can we just start with Blake Hinson?
Let's talk about Blake Hinson. So let's talk about Blake. Just starting off with the stat sheet: 8 of 10 from the field, 7 of 7 from 3, 24 points, 8 rebounds. He did it all, and I think the storyline with Blake is sometimes it's really frustrating to watch. Sometimes he misses a lot of threes, and then it's all worth it for a game like it was against Duke.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, in some of these losses, you see him shoot a ton of threes even when he's not on, and you're okay with it because he's capable of a game like this. Let the shooters shoot. If he hits his first couple, watch out. This is similar to that West Virginia game where he also just went nuclear and hit 9 threes in that game, 7 for 7 in this one, and they weren't easy.
No.
Some of them were just insane. It's funny watching them back and just looking at the Cameron Crazies, especially after his 4th or 5th one. Some of the ones that he was hitting, Like they all just like throw their arms up and are like just disgusted. So if you haven't done that, recommend.
The one where he's shooting it, I think he comes off a pick. He drops his guy. The other guy plays perfect defense, and then just shoots it over him anyway. I think that was my favorite one from the Duke game.
Yeah. A couple of them were just nasty, like hands in his face. It doesn't matter. Just drained him. Yeah, I mean, that's huge, obviously. And then, of course, after the game, he drew a lot of headlines with jumping up on the scorer's table, face to face with the Cameron Crazies, just kind of letting them hear it, receiving countless middle fingers, made for just an iconic short video and some iconic photos that the college basketball world just ate up. So
I have a question for you guys here.
Yeah.
And I think Blake Hinson is incredible. I would love for him to have a long NBA career. I would love for him to be super successful in all of his endeavors. But after watching that game, I was like, do you think there's going to be a better moment in Blake Hinson's professional career than after standing on like the stanchion, getting it all from the Cameron Crazies after he just defeated them in Cameron Indoor?
Like you said, I hope he has a long career wherever that is, NBA, overseas, maybe does something, but just based on how high of a high that is, odds are probably that's the peak.
I was gonna say, I just think it's probably going to be a top 3 moment in his life. Like it's just putting together like what he did from 3, what Pitt was going through in the moment. Like yes, Duke was missing 2 of its starters, but I mean they still have 5 stars that come off their bench. That's just not something that Pitt is going to ever have. So it's still a team that has multiple 5 stars on its teams. It has the ACC Player of the Year in Filipowski that was playing in the game. So to do all of that, to do it on the road, to pick up your team when they needed it the most was just fantastic for me. And I was just like, in that moment, he's just like, yeah, I'm the guy. Like he was the talk of college basketball that night. Every tweet from main college basketball analysts to your local Pitt fans, they were talking about Blake Hinson. And I was just like, that's a pretty cool moment. But for me, the biggest thing wasn't even the Duke game. The Duke game was cool, but we've had moments like that before. The Pitt team, when we were in college, beat a top 25 UNC team. Yes, that was at home. But then after that, they just kind of fell off again. So for me, the biggest thing was a Georgia Tech game. They needed to put up a showing against Georgia Tech. And it wasn't just, oh, we played well. You had to beat a Georgia Tech team. I know they'd beaten Duke this year and they played them close the second time. But if you want to be taken seriously as a team that's not a bottom of the barrel ACC team, these are the games that you have to win. And they got down in the second half. They didn't get down on themselves. They were able to come off from that and still pull off a victory on the road. And I know Georgia Tech isn't like Cameron Indoor. They didn't have fans in there, but it's still a road game. And it's still, you got to bring yourself up. It's the ultimate letdown spot. So seeing those 2 games together back to back was what gave me confidence back in this Pitt team.
Yeah, I mean, you had to keep the momentum going. I know we kind of skipped over the losses, but the Syracuse game kind of felt like, all right, like if you want to make March Madness, like you have to start winning some games. And like to me, it was like, all right, if we lose to Syracuse, you're not going to beat Duke. We ended up beating Duke, and of course Georgia Tech. So yeah, I mean, we got to get on a roll here, and I agree. Keeping the momentum rolling rather than falling for that trap game and just kind of having a letdown, thinking you got it in the bag. You just beat Duke. It's good to see this team stay focused, and I hope they can just keep that going. Here into the next stretch.
Yeah, I agree that like it's not only that like they needed the momentum going, but past Pitt teams, that this Georgia Tech game, which they won, would have been a prime letdown spot. You just have this emotional road win. You upset a top 10 team in their house. Pitt teams in our lifetime would have just dropped that game and just.
Let's look back to last year, Notre Dame. You
Yeah.
crush
Yeah.
Clemson, everybody's riding high, and you put up an absolute stinker against the worst team in the ACC. I think that's where we don't usually give Capel credit, but I think that's actually growth because this team is younger than the team from last year. Obviously, they don't have the experience. They had a rough stretch, and like that one win, you would think that they would like maybe take their foot off the gas, but he was able to somehow, some way put it back together. And I don't know. Capel might be like, I know we talk about him every time I come on the pod, but he's like the he's so strange. There's so many times I've thought that he's going to lose his job, and I'm like, this is not gonna last. But there's gonna be a point where he's gonna be 15 years in, and we're like, wait, how does Capel still have a job with Pitt? Like he's just going to survive. Every time you think he's dead, he comes back.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the next week or two are obviously crucial. It's gonna really tell us a lot more about this team than we know already. But one really bright spot the last couple games, Jaland Lowe, his growth from the beginning of the season to the last couple games is phenomenal. He hit some really clutch shots. The 3 over Filipowski in the Duke game was the clutchest of moments. And yeah, he had another nice game against Georgia Tech as well. So, it's awesome to see him kind of step up when, we really needed somebody in that sort of, side role that hadn't already been stepping up to step up and give them some good minutes. He's been starting too.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't mention it earlier, but Jaland Lowe did win ACC Rookie of the Week. So now both of the star freshmen have won them. And not only has Lowe looked really good, he had those clutch shots in the Duke game. Like I think the offense looks a little bit better when Lowe is the one bringing the ball up. That's not to like disparage Bub Carrington or anything like that. I think he just flows a little bit nicer and everything. And then in the Georgia Tech game, obviously Hinson cooled off. He went only 1 for 4 from 3. And then Bub Carrington stepped back up. He led all scores with 19 points. Lowe, like you said, had 12. And then one thing that I did like to see in this game is that often when you look at the box scores of like Pitt basketball games, they don't really get a lot of production from their bench. Yesterday against Georgia Tech, they did get 12 from Guillermo and 14 from Ish Leggett. And I just think that we do have the star power in the starting 5, right? Federico is still working some things out, I suppose. But
that's a nice way of saying things.
I watch my words. This is a public podcast. No, but if you can start getting like that production from Guillermo and Ish, like consistently off the bench, you can give your guys rests. Like I'd like to see maybe more time for Will Jeffress, a little bit more time for Jorge, so you have at least more big guys on the court at the same time. But that's just sort of something that to keep an eye out on as we move forward into the season.
Yeah, I mean, Federico, it would be nice if he could be, a little bit more consistent. He had a pretty nice game against Duke, had some nice buckets, some nice dunks. I think he had 4 dunks or something.
The one to open the game was really nice.
When he chooses to play strong, he looks much better. But then, this Georgia Tech game, he drops the ball and kicks it out of bounds, like just sloppy, sort of weak turnovers. So yeah, I think
it seems like he's playing like hot potato with the basketball.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm just like, it's okay to just grab the basketball and just hold it for a second to decide what you want to do. I feel like sometimes it's like, I have the ball. Oh my God, what am I supposed to do? The clock is running down. Oh, I don't want to step out of bounds. Somebody's swiping at the ball. And then the ball like just falls. It's like maybe just take a step back. Just be like, all right, I have the ball. What do I want to do with the ball here? And I feel like that would go such a long way because Capel has had to move the starting lineup over and over and over again because he's trying to find what works. And going back to Fede in the starting lineup against Georgia Tech, it's like you get good minutes, but they're also like these boneheaded plays. And his free throws are just like, I don't trust him late game in the slightest. And he's not going to make free throws. So it's just like, I know they need more size, and the Twins, we thought maybe they'll put on a little bit more weight, and they're probably still light for ACC basketball as like full-time fives. So you're going to need Fede um if you're going to have a good season. The question I do have though, guys, do you think that we need to switch our point guard and shooting guard? Like, do you think Bub is a better just creator for himself and should play the two? And then you have Lowe just go ahead and be that point guard, like you said, Zach? Or do you think just rock with what's going on right now? Because I do think there is something to where I think Bub can get his own and get himself started. But I think with him getting himself started, it doesn't really feature much of like the rest of the team, if that makes sense.
Yes, I totally agree with that because I think you hit the nail on the head. Bub can be a self-starting guy, and when there's someone sort of already doing some sort of creation for him and then kicking it out to him, it works even better. I think that's one of Lowe's strongest points. So if you have a guy who can self-start being supplemented by a guy who can create for others, I think that's a no-brainer to have Lowe at the one, Bub at the two. Just want to hit something real quick, like that you said, which you don't trust Fede late in games. I think Capel doesn't either because down the stretch in this Georgia Tech game when they're only up 5 or 6 or so, it was Guillermo who was in the game. It wasn't Fede. They know that he is a liability at the free throw line, and judging the fact that it's pretty much gotten worse the entire season. They know they have to take him out late in games, and it's this very weird dynamic where okay, you need the size and the strength of Fede, but Fede doesn't have like comparable ball handling skills at all to the Twins, but then you lose that size, and it's such a give and take that's like it's so frustrating to think about. Like
Papa Conte tearing, was it his ACL that he tore?
I believe it was ACL. I'll double check that.
Tearing his ACL. Just I know Capel had like plans for him to like, hey, if Fede does fall off a little bit, that he'll find his way into the mix. He's already a bigger guy coming in. Like, dang, I know for a fact Capel that's the one that hurts the most. But again, it does all this stuff. Like, I know the first pod we talked about the season preview. I was like, I did feel like this team was going to take a step back just because of you're losing so many seniors, you're losing so much experience. It did get a little bit rough, and I don't think this is going to be a tourney team to end the season. Hopefully, maybe an NIT appearance, but it does bode well. Like the stuff that I'm seeing now, this is the stuff that bodes well for next season for me. Where some losses, like the second Syracuse loss, did really hurt me, but besides that, I've been mostly like okay with the way the season's been going.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I agree that it looks definitely more like an NIT bound team than a March Madness team. Obviously, I like to keep some hope for that in case they can kind of go on a run here. I should double check. I think last year in ACC play, can't remember. I think they had 5 losses in the ACC last year. I think they're already at that.
Yeah.
This year. And obviously they were a fringe team. So, I mean, if they can string together some wins, it seems like, this team has performed better overall on the road by far this year than at home. And a majority of their games remaining are on the road, especially against the better teams. They're all quad one games left on the schedule, I believe, are on the road. So, if that's what it takes, if it takes a road environment to kind of get this team to step up and play well and shoot the ball better, then I'm all for it. We'll see, but
so they were 14-6 in conference last year. So I guess there's some wiggle room there. I do want to kind of look ahead at this schedule though. So obviously the big game coming up is against Miami this Saturday. This is in Miami, 2:15. It's on the CW, which kind of fucking sucks. But I think more than anything, the season is decided at that Miami game, right? I think that's someone you have to beat to even keep any hope of a tournament appearance alive.
I totally agree. I think it's the biggest game of the year. because Miami is a beatable team. If I'm not mistaken, they lost to Louisville earlier in the season, so it's not like they were a juggernaut. Everybody thought they were going to be this great team coming into the season based off of what happened last year with them, but they haven't been all that impressive. They're actually playing Notre Dame right now, and they're only up 1 point in the second half. So again, this is not a team that has proven to be a juggernaut throughout the season. Uh, Off of two straight losses to Florida State and Syracuse, it's a very winnable game. And you do win that game, then you start playing the game like, okay, Duke, then Georgia Tech, Miami, you have Wake Forest, you have Notre Dame. Like there are games that you could stack on each other and maybe make that late push. But if you do lose the Miami game, then I don't even know if NIT at that point is really something that we're even thinking about because I don't know where you can even pick up a semi big win in quotes to bolster your resume for any postseason tournament.
So I think now, granted, these aren't like big, or as big, but you have the stretch of Wake Forest, who's a decent team in the ACC. They're in the upper half, as well as at NC State, following up that Miami game. Virginia, always a good win in their arena. You get at Wake Forest. I think then this stretches the end of the season at Wake Forest, home against Virginia Tech, and then at Clemson, and you get a double up with NC State like that. And then 2 games against Florida State, who's surprisingly 6-2 in the ACC, or sorry, 1 game against Florida State. So there are a lot of quality opponents on this schedule. I'll go look up the quad right now. The NET.
I think they're quality opponents, but with what Pitt has already done throughout the season, is it enough to pull them up? Like that Florida loss now, it was a bad loss then. And it's just like, this Florida team, like they're okay. They're ninth in the SEC, losses to Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee. So it's like you lost by 15 to that team. If Florida is a team vying for the tournament and we're vying for the tournament, that's obviously going to be like, I feel like I wish there was another like super big, like if there was another UNC matchup, or if there was something where you have another top 25 team at your place. But right now, it looks like, are there any more? Will there be any more top 25 teams that they face this year? I don't think so. So
Not
that's
currently
something.
ranked, but
So
you
so
never
that's
know.
one of those things where I'm like, damn, I just wish we had one more shot where it feels like this team is better than it was 2 weeks ago to face one of those like top teams.
Plus, you got the end of the season ACC tournament.
Oh, yes, very true.
At,
Very
uh,
true. Very true.
at their disposal if they want to try and get it that way. That also works. But, that's asking for a lot, obviously. But never say never.
I will say, just going off the numbers straight up, there are 4 quad 1 games left. That's away at Miami, away at Virginia, away at Wake Forest, away at Clemson, and 4 quad 2s, home against Wake, away at NC State, home against Virginia Tech, and then away at Boston College. So numbers wise, and we know that recently they have been using that NET ranking a lot. Right now, they're at number 69. So I mean, if they get some of these quad 1 and quad 2 wins, if they keep using the NET like they have in previous years, it's not out of the question.
Yeah, getting those quad 1 wins and avoiding any lower quad L's is also very key.
Yeah, the unspoken thing is that you can't lose any of the quad 4s left on the schedule.
Yeah, no more stinkers.
Yeah.
No more stinkers allowed. Where's it like based off of early, like your early season thoughts on the team? Are you guys more? Was this your expectation? A little disappointed, or a little bit optimistic after the last week?
I would say from the beginning of the season, a little disappointed. Obviously, I feel like the talent's there. I think there were a number of games that we lost simply because we shot the ball poorly, which is just kind of tough to swallow when you get open looks and good looks, and you're used to kind of knocking those threes down from last year. I just felt like there was a number of winnable games earlier this season that they didn't capitalize on. So in that regard, I would say, so far disappointing, but I am optimistic with how they've looked the last couple games. If they can kind of continue to look like that, I have some hope for, the rest of the season.
So I'll say that I think now that the last week has happened, I expected this team to take a step back. I think what hurt the most is that all of these losses came basically in a row, right? You lose to Florida, and then you win the consolation game against Oregon State. You get swept that week by Missouri and Clemson. Then we beat West Virginia. You have your bye games, and then you lose like Syracuse, North Carolina, Duke, Syracuse, and then the Louisville lost a win in there. So to do all that losing at once, I think it made it seem like the sky was falling a little bit. However, when after we win a couple games, step back. Okay, I expected this team to take a step back. We lost so much veteran playing time. We're breaking in 2 freshmen in the starting lineup. I think it's about, if I had to be honest with myself, without the preseason rose-tinted glasses, probably what I expected.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm happy we didn't record this last week because it would be a totally different discussion. But you're gonna lose some games that you probably shouldn't have if you have more experience. But you're also gonna with the talent that you have, and that's what you get with breaking in like some really good young players. Is they're gonna get playing time. They're gonna make mistakes. Most vets in college basketball aren't going 0 for 10, but you're gonna have to eat an 0 for 10 game if you're gonna have the type of game Bub had last night. It's just a balance of things in like you said, trying to break in a younger team. I'm not too disappointed with the season. I feel like maybe they should have been a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe the West Virginia game tricked me to where I'm like, oh, this team is like I had such high hopes and I thought they were going to go places, and obviously West Virginia stinks this year, so that's always good. But I think that West Virginia game maybe tricked me, so I had to recalibrate my expectations for this team. But I think I maybe was a little bit too low after the second Syracuse loss, so I think I'm back at a even spot where I'm like, I'm just happy with where the season is we're not completely embarrassing ourselves. It doesn't look like we're going to be a bottom of the ACC team. And at least for me, from where we were starting in 2016, just to be like, hey, we're a middling team. And if everybody comes back next year, we're going to be one of the top teams in the ACC. That's kind of how it happens with a lot of the ACC teams. If you're not your Duke, your UNCs, is by the time what Virginia has built. Virginia was always a senior heavy team, and they always have experience, and they're always their guys stay 2, 3, 4 years. If we could be something like that and start that where this is the year that starts our, hey, we have a recruiting class, not the best of recruiting classes, or not the best of seasons, but if those guys come back and we have now guys that we aren't forcing next year to be the guys for the Pitt Panthers, they can sit behind Bub, they can sit behind the Twins, they can sit behind all these guys that have experience now, and when it's their turn, they can take over. And that's truly how you build a program. And I'm happy that this may be the first year where we're starting to actually see that versus last year where it was you put everything into a bottle, you get all the freshmen, you get all the 5th, 6th year, 7th year guys, and you make a magical run. This feels much more sustainable.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope Bub comes back. I know, there's a lot of he's been reposting a lot of stuff about his draft stock. At one point, top 10 pick in some Instagram stories he was reposting. At this point, well, I'm not sure.
He's projected in most recent mock drafts, he's around 40 to 60 now. So he's taking a big dive.
Dropped. He went through a really rough shooting stretch for our losing streak, especially from 3. I hope he comes back another year. We'll see. But yeah, no, I think I agree, and I think that's a good point. I think looking back on the schedule right now, we're 3-5 in the ACC, 12-7 overall. I think if a few games that really stand out that I feel could have and should have been wins, in particular. The first Syracuse game, we were up by double
Yes.
digits at half.
Yep. I think that changes the whole outlook of the season. 4-4 in the ACC looks so different than 3-5.
Yeah,
Like just that one game.
4-4 right now. And then the Missouri game, I thought in the ACC SEC Challenge was also a very winnable game. And then our first ACC game against Clemson at home was pretty back and forth. We ended up losing by 9. Didn't play very good defense, especially against Girard in that game. But that was a winnable game in my mind as well. But
so you brought something I wanted to bring up is that I think that those 3 games, right? Missouri and Clemson were both very close late in the last 4 minutes, and then they sort of just don't shoot well down the stretch. They lose by 9 both those games, or 7 in this case, Missouri. And then Syracuse, and we were up double digits, and then just went cold, and we just couldn't get back into it. One thing that this team has certainly improved on is playing down the stretch. In both the Duke and the Georgia Tech games, they kept these teams, even with the refs trying to give Duke the game with that weird call, they kept them at an arm's length the entire time. And that's what shows me that this team is growing and learning from their mistakes and not just sort of giving up, throwing in the towel. That's super important. That's super important moving forward, not only for this season, but next season. And, coulda, shoulda, woulda been wins. They're learning from their mistakes.
Yeah, and I mean, I fully agree. Another thing is the way this team plays, it's sort of live by the 3, die by the 3. Blake Hinson doesn't go 7 for 7 from 3 and has a game similar to some of the other ones that they've lost where he doesn't shoot the ball well. They probably lose by 20. So, it gives and it takes away. We'll see. I mean, like we said, a lot of our losses, we just weren't shooting the ball well. If it's on, it's on. We'll get some wins. If it's not, we don't. It's one way to play. We got to get more consistent when the shots aren't falling to make adjustments and score inside. Like, that's what I would really like to see is, one of these games where they're really not shooting the ball particularly well from outside. Georgia Tech, this happened a little bit, I guess.
I was going to bring it up. I feel like Blake was attacking inside more a little bit against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And it's like he has the size to. Why not use it?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's good to see that. The most recent game actually is a good example. So that's some growth because I think earlier in the season they were not doing that. I think some of the games that they did lose, they just continued to shoot the 3 when it wasn't working. So if we can kind of make that adjustment and win some close games that way, that's night and day from earlier this season.
Do you guys have anything else on basketball?
No, I'm enjoying the season. I know it's like not the greatest of seasons, but I take a lot of perspective with this. From where we came from, where every single game we would lose in the ACC, you would go into a game knowing that you're going to lose by 20 points. I'm just happy that we have players that we're talking about could potentially be draft picks. That's a fun and new exciting one, and like actual legit draft picks, not like maybe he could be like the 59th or 60th pick in this year's draft. Players that are like developing and growing. I think it's awesome. I do want to bring up something not related to Pitt, but Nate Santos.
Dude,
what?
Yeah, Nate Santos.
It's something about like the thing was like all last year. It's like, yeah, Nate practiced really well. It just doesn't translate to games. Obviously, he was kind of buried on the depth chart with a lot of seniors. Maybe he just needed a change of scenery, but like he's rebounding the fuck out of the ball and he's shooting the lights out for Dayton. Dayton's ranked 15th now?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the second leading scorer for a top 15 team in the country. It's pretty crazy.
Damn, that one stings. I didn't expect that.
He always had a good looking shot and he was always an effective rebounder. So, I mean, the skills were there. It just, I don't know. I'm happy for him. Kind of stings a little bit. I don't know if that's like a coaching mishap on our part or if that's just change of scenery. Like you said, he just got better and I don't know. But good for Nate Santos.
as far as Nate goes, I mean, if you look at this year's roster, I guess does he fit with this year's roster? Like, would he still be sort of a bench player if he was still around? What do you guys think?
I think he would definitely get minutes. I think
Or would he be starting like he is at Dayton?
Yes. Probably not to start the year initially, but didn't Jeffers get a starter too? When
Yeah, but that
Cable
was
was
against
shuffling?
like bye teams.
I know, but still, I think Cable was shuffling lineups for a while there, where he was trying to figure out what would work. I think Santos maybe gets a couple of starts to see, hey, does this cohesion work? Like I know they did the back and forth with Zach Austin too a little bit, so I think he would have been in the mix of trying to start, but maybe it's just like, hey, just need to go to a different spot, and he blossomed.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, no hard feelings. Transfers happen all the time. I'm just glad he's doing well. He's found a role and he's actually performing like he was a 4-star recruit, right? Like
Yeah.
living up to those expectations.
So I just wanted to shout him out.
Yeah, we could honestly use his rebounding right now and his shooting if he's going to shoot that well. So.
He took all the magic with him. I do want to bring up one last thing on basketball though, and this was a project that I was working on. I went back and I went through every single game that Pitt has played since they changed their uniforms and recorded wins and losses for every single color that they wear. I think the yellow uniforms are cursed. I think they're genuinely cursed.
Well, they're also
What's the record?
They can get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, beyond them looking like complete dog ass, right? They are 10-13 in them, which they would be the worst record, but their worst records in the blue uniforms, and that's because we had a lot of bad teams lose a lot of road games. But it's not about the record. It's about how we opened wearing these. Basically, they debuted in a loss to West Virginia, and then we didn't win in those uniforms for 2 full calendar years after that.
What?
Yeah.
I just personally think they're really ugly, so I'll be fine throwing those away. They're just like Pitts.
Yeah.
Did you say they look like Pitts?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it doesn't look good on the. I don't know. It doesn't look good on the court.
They look horrible. I mean, one of the biggest issues is there's no blue on them whatsoever. They need to have like blue accents. There's just simply yellow and white, and they don't have the Pitt script on them. They have like the weird new just Panthers font. But my biggest issue, they would look a million times better if they just had some like blue stripes or something.
Yeah.
They would look a million times better if they just used the yellow uniforms from the year before with the block letters and the Pitt script.
Getting rid of those is literally a crime.
They need to bring those back.
Whoever decided to get rid of those and go with what we have now should be in jail.
Because those have more both blue and white on them, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Because they won like uniform of the year or something.
Yeah, they literally won like the Uniswag like uniform of the year or something. And then
I remember Xavier Johnson in them, if I'm not.
Yeah, Xavier Johnson is like the most prominent example, or like that's like the picture that comes to mind.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely had more blue and not that much white, but it had white along the sides and it had the blue and white stripes down the sides.
Oh yeah.
So that added some contrast to it. Yeah, those were much better.
So
you know what I think the biggest thing is? That white trim around this Pitt script and the numbers, that's what really sets it apart, I think. Like, because it's just blue. It's just the blue cathedral font on the yellow, and it's the piss yellow. It's a slightly different shade, so everything just looks terrible.
Yeah, dude. I'm looking at these. These are horrible.
Yeah, they suck.
The ones we have now, they're horrible.
Oh, yeah. The Pitt ones, the old ones had so much it had like contrast to it.
Yeah, and then like, I mean, honestly, when you look at like the official, just like media day photos of like the yellow ones from the front, they don't look horrible, but like on the court, they look horrendous.
They look, at least for me, they look like almost practice pennies.
Yeah, I agree.
Where it's just like basic like Panthers number.
They
basic
just have a
like
giant white stripe on the left side, or the whatever one side, and no blue. And yeah, there's simply not enough blue on them.
Isn't the letters blue or whatever?
Yeah, and honestly, they would look a million times better even if they just replaced like the block Panthers with just the Pitt script.
with the script, yeah, because that would make
Yeah.
the blue even pop more.
Yeah, because
With
it's
it
not
being
like
larger.
it's not thin. Like
Yeah.
the thing about the block numbers and the script is that it's a giant, massive blue. It's just like a little chicken scratch.
The
right
black
now.
ones also stink. I don't like those.
Oh, actually, I like the black ones.
I don't mind the black uniforms. Yeah. Honestly,
The P
I
is kind of
think-
weird, but it's okay.
I genuinely think that if you reverse I don't like the P logo. I think that's a weird one. If you put the cathedral font on the black uniform, it would work on that one.
I wouldn't hate that. I also wouldn't mind if it was just like, well, I don't know if teams do this, but like the Panther head, would that work there? I don't know.
On the black?
Yeah, like instead of the P,
So then would it be
just like the big like
would it be
facing
a
Panther
full
head.
yellow, or would it be yellow and black Panther? Because I don't think I've ever seen the Panther be yellow and black.
The closest thing you would get to that would be the how it looked on the Steel City uniforms that football did 3 years ago.
Oh yes. I remember those.
Those stink, by the way.
I thought they
I
were going to
didn't
be all
think those.
black, end up being gray.
I don't know, man.
We'll figure this. Someone will figure this out. It just can't be the guy that got rid of the block uniforms. All right. Enough about shirts and pants. Let's talk about football. Pads and helmets, baby. Do you guys want to talk the announced schedule first or a starting quarterback first?
Let's start with QB.
Okay, let's talk QB. I was vindicated. I was proven right. Nate Yarnell has been named the starting quarterback for spring practice. I mean, all that means he's number one going in, but I was right. And I don't know if I said this. I don't know if I said this on air before, but the last time Mike came on when we were talking about basketball preview and Phil Dracovic stinking, after the show was done recording, I basically went, yeah, I went back, watched Nate Yarnell's high school tape, and I think it's going to be really good. You guys all laughed at me for watching high school tape. I was right.
I know. You get your props. Actually, have you given your breakdown on I'm blanking on his name, the Alabama transfer? On what you think about his game and everything?
I have. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second.
What is it? Eli Holstein, I believe.
Holstein, I believe.
Holstein, yeah.
Yeah, Holstein. Basically, the thing to know about Holstein is that he's not going to start this year. If he gets any playing time, it's garbage time, clean up, mop up duty, and it's because his mechanics are not sorted out. Like he does not use his legs or hips to generate any power. It's all upper body, and when that happens, it leads to inaccurate passes, wobbly passes, and he got away with it in high school because the competition is much lesser. You know, even just being a college quarterback, you can throw it over people's heads. But looking at some of the tape that we had on him from the Bama spring game, like he throws a pick and he throws some really bad balls, and it's because he's generating all that power with the upper body and nothing with the lower body. So, inaccurate behind his receivers, sort of sailing out of the receiver's catch range. And it's just a matter of fixing it, just stepping into your throw and using your hips to generate power. So it's like it's a weird comparison, but shot put, which I did in high school, is the same way. If you're generating all your power with your upper body, you're going to end up faulting, throwing it in all kinds of wonky ways. But if you lead with your hips basically, and you let your upper body carry through in a way, it will generate more power. And that's something that Nate Yarnell did in terms of where he started at Pitt to where he is now. Like when he came in that Western Michigan game, he was all just like throwing with only his arm and shoulder. And then when he comes in this year, he's really like stepping into throws, sort of driving those hips. And that's where he got he got a lot more accurate and he got a lot more zip on his ball rather than just being like a rainbow merchant.
I can't say that I'm excited for seeing a new offense, but I, unlike the Pitt basketball team where I was like, I think we'll take a step back, but I'm still cautiously optimistic. After last year, I'm just kind of like, whatever happens, happens. You have to prove it to me. You have to show me something. Like I'm a fan of the OC hire. I'm a fan of playing up tempo. He brought a couple of his guys. I feel like that's partially to just try to help implement the system
Mm-hmm.
and have everybody like, hey, show them how we do this and that. So I think that's going to be part of the case. But for this season, I am fine going with Nate Yarnell, but long term, you're going to have to find like the guy, and I don't know if he can be the guy. And I guess that's what they're hoping with Eli, and hopefully he's able to fix the problems that he is like with his throwing motion and stuff like that. But if not, that needs to be the number one thing. We were good when we had Kenny Pickett, and he was able to be there for 3-4 years, and he grew each and every year. I just don't want to bring in a transfer that doesn't pan out. Like I'm just tired of that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's, like you said, that's the thought process behind bringing in Holstein, is that he's not this 1 year, 2 year rental guy. He's a guy who's coming in to come sit down, learn, and just get ready to take over the position. I will say, as far as like, I agree. It's like, you got to show me what it is. Like, I know I'm gonna do this eventually, but I'm gonna try to not fall for it. Talk myself into us being like crazy good, wholeheartedly at least. I will probably say it ironically. Um, I will say, as far as the Bell offense goes, there are two pretty there are two big things that I think about. One is that, I mean, this is just when you're spreading the ball out as much as he is, you have to be on time and accurate with their throws. And I think Yarnell gives this offense the best in terms of, timing your throws and getting accurate. Veyer had a lot of issues with like just accuracy on like medium and short passes, and then being off, like not on time, and he'd be late, and defenders would get up in there. And then the second thing is that the receivers on this team are weirdly one of the strongest rooms on the team. Like, they have probably the most talent there. And when you air it out as much as Bell does, I mean, hey, you're going to use those guys, so why not?
Yeah, I'm I'm excited, and I know we're gonna get into schedule talk, and I'm doing what I just said I wouldn't do. I'm literally doing it. But the schedule isn't incredibly hard. Like to get both
No.
to get Cal, SMU, like for sure in the eight, there are a couple of games here. UNC is losing Drake May, like they lost to West Virginia in their bowl game. I guess Clemson is still Clemson, but I mean they're doing another year with Klubnik. There are winnable games here. You get the
Yeah,
West
so
Virginia
let's
game
get
at
into that
home,
schedule.
like I don't know.
So yeah, let's get into that schedule. Came out today. Some of these games have been locked in, like the out of conference, but it was more about the conference schedule and everything. So open up August 31st, Kent State at home. Next week is at Cincinnati. Week after that is home against West Virginia. Then you get Youngstown State at home for your FCS tune-up game. And then did they get a bye after Youngstown State? They didn't really
They
put
do.
this. Okay, so they get that week 5 bye. Then they go to North Carolina. They get Cal at home. Then they get another bye. And then they get Syracuse at home on a Thursday, at SMU, Virginia, and Clemson at home in back-to-back weeks. They finish out the season at Louisville and at Boston College. I'm going to say something. This is probably my hottest take on this schedule so far. They can be 9-0 going into that Clemson game. They can be 9-0 going into that game. And that's not like a reference, like we don't know what the team's going to look like, but Kent State, Youngstown State, don't really need an explanation for that. West Virginia and Cincinnati, those are two games we would have won last year if Phil Dracovic wasn't playing.
If you have even half competent QB play.
Exactly. Those games we lost by a combined 10 or they're both one score. No.
Didn't the West Virginia game get I thought it got bad. Like it got ugly late. But I turned it off after a while.
It was 17-6, but like Phil Dracovic handed them 10 points. So what are you gonna do? North Carolina, like you said, they are losing Drake May and they are replacing with Max Johnson, who I think fucking sucks. Cal has a really good running back, but Pitt usually has a good running defense. Syracuse is all hype, and Kyle McCord's their starting quarterback, and he stinks. I mean, he wasn't very good at Ohio State. What do you think is going to make him better at Syracuse? SMU is like fake good. They run like a kind of gimmicky offense, and then Virginia's Virginia, and then you get to Clemson. I'm saying there's a path. I don't know if I believe it, but there's a path.
It's a really favorable ACC schedule. Like
it really is.
It has nothing to do with what I think of Pitt at all. It's just the schedule itself just bears out that this has to be a bounce back year. It has to be. Or like if it's Capel. If Narduzzi can't win with this schedule, he has to be gone.
I don't know if the buyout's gonna be low enough, but spiritually, yes, I agree.
You can't lose to Virginia. You can't. Like
you can't lose to Virginia, obviously, but like there should be something like 7 solid wins on this schedule. I'm not counting West Virginia because it's a rivalry game, anything can happen. But I think if they don't hit 7, I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, I do think so.
Just excited for the new offense, man. That's all I gotta say.
I want to see it so bad.
Well, we'll see, man.
I'm not gonna get myself too excited again off of week 1, though. I did that last year. I never in my life will I do that again.
Yeah. Whatever happens against Kent State. Well, if we lose, all right. If we win, handily, State, keep the reactions minimum.
All right, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna do that, and then on August 31st, I'm like, oh fuck, we're not losing a game, dude. We're going undefeated, dude. I'll never learn my lesson. I never will.
You just get through if you get through the first 5-0, I'll be all the way in. I'll be, and then I'll start doing the math. I'm like, 12-team playoff. I mean, you go to ACC championship game. It's automatic. Like there are ways that I can convince myself, but you
Bama's out of it. So we're winning the Natty. So pretty much what we've concluded from this schedule release is Pitt is winning the national championship.
Yeah, right, they're going. Would they go? What it would be 16-0, right? Yeah, they're going 16-0.
I thought we would have a bye, obviously. Undefeated team.
Yeah, if we're undefeated.
Yeah, but you would play. Would you go?
I thought
there are 8 teams, then 4, then 2, because it goes 8, 8, 4, 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 13-3, 16. We're doing math. All right, listen, we're doing math here. I think we're about wrapped up on this one, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a favorable schedule. I didn't realize it was 3 wins last year. That's really bad. That's really, really bad. I kind of checked out middle of the season. I'm not usually one to just be like, there's no need, but there was nothing that was even worth watching. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. I do have a quick question for you, Zach, because you pay attention to football a lot more than me. What do you think? Who's the starting running back week 1?
Oh, see that's the one thing I was trying to do a depth chart in my head, right? Because I'm a freak and I have brain worms. So I do think Yarnell's going to hold the quarterback job. As far as running back goes, I think that you're going to see Hammond and Desmond Reed sort of carrying the bulk of the carries. I'll be honest, I would be surprised if Daniel Carter has not transferred out by the end of spring. I don't
Oh
think
wow.
I'd be surprised. He only has 1 year left. I don't think he's gonna get a lot of playing time with this team. I think they might like say like, hey, because right now they're 8 scholarships over the limit, right? So
Hmm.
they have to tell 8 players like, hey, you got to go find somewhere else to play. I think Daniel Carter could be one guy who could be told to go. It's like, hey, it's your final year. Go play somewhere like Vincent Davis did. Like you're not going to see a lot of because like his running style just isn't. It's not suited for Bell's offense.
Yeah.
I think the wild card is Derek Davis, the LSU transfer, because other than Carter, he's the biggest back, but he also has like speed that Carter doesn't have.
Hmm.
But
Interesting.
week 1, it'll be Reed and Hammond, I think, and Reed's the
Weird.
Western Carolina transfer.
Yes. Is Flemister still here?
Is who?
Sibo.
No, he's out of eligibility.
Oh damn.
The room as of right now is Hammond and Carter, final year of eligibility. Desmond Reed, who has 2 years left. Derek Davis, who has 3. And then redshirt freshman Travius Lloyd and true freshman Jules Goff coming in.
Okay. Interesting. I really like him, and I hope they're able to use him this year because I don't know. It just felt I don't know something felt off with the team last year, like with their use of him, and so hopefully he can have a bounce back because I thought he was really good.
It was so weird. I know he was dealing with some injuries, but like it looked like the staff just didn't trust him for whatever reason because they really heavily favored Sebo in a lot of games where Hammond should have been playing. I think so. I think some of it was due to like a nagging injury, but I agree. Like he can be so much better than he was last year, and I think in this offense he'll get the chance to kind of show it.
Oh, one more thing. I know. We said we were going to wrap up. The fact that
Good.
we were able to keep a lot of the top offensive players was surprising to me. Like I was very
I'm.
much Gavin. I thought Gavin was gone. I thought
Mhm.
Kenny was gone. Like I thought a bunch of guys would just transfer out. So one or two things, whether our NIL collective is doing a great job, that's amazing. But two, maybe they are also excited about a potential offense and what their numbers could look like this year.
Yeah, I think that really, I think the 2 guys we couldn't miss, obviously Gavin, huge. Kenny Johnson, huge. The one guy on defense we really couldn't afford to lose is Deion Hayes, and he also came back, which is something to shout out because, like, obviously having Gavin is huge for the tight end room. He's by far and away the best. Kenny Johnson is, like, with Kanata, that's a dangerous 1-2 punch receiver. When you get to D line, you need um, Deion Hayes' leadership because on the interior, there's going to be a lot of new faces again on the interior line. Like our top 4 guys either transferred, graduated, or are going to the NFL. And then there's a lot of new faces at the edges too, with that Kansas State and the Clemson transfer. So, like you said, the NIL collective did a great job of keeping around not only some of our best players, but some of our biggest leaders and some of the guys we couldn't afford to lose.
Yeah. So there are upticks of positives, but again, being 3-9 and having to then like just try to put on a face of like, hey, let's go into it. No, got to show me a little bit before I get all the way back in. But we'll see.
We'll see. All right, that'll do it from us tonight. This has been Simple 5 Podcast. Once again, thanks, Mike, for coming on, filling the spot. Really appreciate it. Always good to have you on. If you like the show, follow us on Twitter at Simple 5 Pod. Rate the pod on your podcast app of choice. It helps the show out. We'll see you next week.
Hell to Pitt.
Go Ravens.